So, good day, students. So, for today's discussion, we're going to talk about the Vygotsky Socio-Cultural Theory of Cognitive Development. But before that, let me read first our learning objectives. At the end of the virtual discussions, 85% of the students are expected to explain the socio-cultural theory of cognitive development, appreciate the socio-cultural theory of cognitive development by sharing to the class your knowledge about the topic, and lastly, make a poem about the importance of scaffolding in the child's cognitive development. Now let's proceed to our main topic, the socio-cultural theory. The socio-cultural theory of cognitive development was formulated by Lev Vygotsky, a Russian psychologist. Its major argument is the social interaction mediated through language is the key factor in the child's development. So, Vygotsky emphasizes the importance of social interaction and language in the children's cognitive development. The theory underscores the belief that the children's thinking is affected by their knowledge of social community, which Vygotsky considered as learned from the technical or psychological cultural tools. By cultural tools, it's meant the real tools and simple systems that allow people to communicate, think, solve problems, and create knowledge. We have this what we call the rule of social interaction. Vygotsky emphasized the significance of social interaction in one's thinking. Children learn from the more knowledgeable other, and the more knowledgeable other is anyone who has higher skill level than a learner in terms of specific tasks to perform. So as what I say, Lev Vygotsky emphasizes the importance of social interaction in the children's cognitive development. And then the children can learn from the more knowledgeable other. Who are these more knowledgeable others? They are they are anyone who has a higher level on that particular or on that specific task he will perform. For example, in school, the student and the teacher. The more knowledgeable other is the teacher. And at home, the more knowledgeable other in cooking that specific dish is your mother. They are the more knowledgeable others. Anyone who has a higher skills than you in performing a specific task. And we also have this what we call the co-constructed process. This is the children negotiated to create an acceptable rule on how to play the games, the co-constructed process. So, for example, nag-create og rule ang children or acceptable rules kung saan nila pagduwa ang certain nga game. And kung i-connect na siya sa academics, for example, the teacher gives you a group activity nga. You are going to perform a role play. Of course, you and your members you are planning a specific rule or on how to perform a role play. Makasign-assign man jud mo, di ba, ana og kinsay inyong kinsay mo play ani nga certain nga character. Ana, that is what we call the co-constructed process. The negotiation or the negotiation between you and the others on how to perform a certain task. And the rule of language. Vygotsky's theory emphasizes that language plays a central role in the theory of human cognitive development. Language plays a multiple roles, including culturally shaping the overt behavior of individuals, as well as influencing their covert behavior, such as thinking. Through language, human cognitive development and higher mental functions are initiated from social communications. As people engage in social activities, they are involved in mental and communicative functions. As what I say later, that the language and the social interactions are the major factors in the children's cognitive development. What you will use in interacting socially. Of course, we are using the language so that they will understand us. And while you are socially interacting and communicating, we are the human cognitive development and higher mental functions are initiated in social or from the social communications. And then when we are communicating, our mental and communicative functions are also involved. That's why through socially interacting or the social interactions and language, the children can and the children's cognitive development are present. So, and next is the three stages of speech development. So, we have three stages. The first stage is the social or the external speech. So, it ranges from the birth to 3 years old. At this stage, thinking is not related to speech at all. Instead, thinking is primarily in the form of images, emotions, and impressions. Speech only occurs on the external or social level to express a desire or to convey simple emotions such as crying or shouting. At this stage, speech is merely a tool to make things happen in the external world. So at this stage, so we know it ranges from birth to 3 years old. So we know that the babies or the children at this stage can't use the language properly. So if they can't use the language properly, they are having a hard time in interacting with the other people or to the people around him, even to her parents. So for example, the baby is hungry. So how can he say hungry? So he will just use Didi. So Didi. So when he say that word, the mother can now understand that the baby is hungry. Or for example, kanang kahion po ng bata. Ang sa di ba kasagaran ingon sa bata kung kahion kay wiwi. Ingana. So they are just using some words that the some little words to convey what they really want from the outside world. And the next level is the egocentric speech. At this stage, children think out loud or talk to themselves as they are doing something. It is used to guide behavior and help to solve problems. It is an important part of the transition to inner speech and more sophisticated thinking. So here now, the children can now convey to the outside world what he needs or what happened. So for example, a baby is playing a car toy, and while playing his car toy, naguba, or his car toy was destroyed. So he cannot express or tell her or his parents that the car is destroyed or naguba na iyahang duaan nga car. And then the last stage or the third stage is the inner speech. It is a soundless speech of or thought. Hence, speech becomes internalized and is used to guide thinking and behavior. It eventually leads to higher levels and more complex types of thinking. So now, here in this stage, the children can now think first before he speak. Is it internalized first if he really needs to talk this or not. In this stage, the children can now think high or in a critical can now use a critical thinking. And then we have this what we call the zone of proximal development. One major factor of Vygotsky's theory is the zone of proximal development. He argued that at any time, children find difficulties in performing tasks or problems posed to them as they are not yet matured enough to handle them. With the guidance of the clues, modelings, and demonstrations of the more knowledgeable other can assist the children in successfully performing the task. Excuse. The goal of the zone of proximal development is to help the child move from the level of current independent performance to the level of the potential performance. So for short, the zone of proximal development is the space between what the children cannot do and what the children can do. The space between that two is what we call the zone of proximal development. So to close that space or so to close that space, we need a more knowledgeable others to assist the children on what he can do or what the children or the learner can't do. The more knowledgeable other is there to help him do what that thing he can't do. That is what we call the scaffolding, an intervention to reach the zone of proximal development. Scaffolding ang tawag sa pagtabang sa more knowledgeable other sa learner para mabuhat niya na nga certain task. So, example sa scaffolding is koan. For example, children tahay in school in elementary years, the of course in elementary or in the grade 1 for example, the teacher are teaching them how the ABCs, for example the ABCs, the alphabet. So of course ang bata or the children at that stage is galisod pa sila og kanang koan timaan sa alphabet. So, unsay ang buhaton sa teacher? The teacher presents pictures or lagi pictures nga with the same start. For example, apple. So, A ang sinugdanan. So, to help the maana nga way, the teacher can help the learner nga matiman-an ang letter A or the alphabets. So, unsay gitawag ana nga pagtabang sa more knowledgeable other, that is what we call the scaffolding. For example, sa ato ang bay, dili ka kibaw muluto og unsa man adobo for example. But your mother knows how. So your mother is the more knowledgeable other. And then, tabangan ka sa imong mama or tuluan ka sa imong mama unsaon pagluto og adobo. That intervention is what we call the scaffolding. Okay, nasabtan, scaffolding is the intervention to reach the zone of proximal development. Unsa ganitong zone of proximal development? It is the space between what the learner cannot do and what he can do. Okay, I hope nasabtan. And then these are the teaching implications of Vygotsky's theory. First, instruction can be planned to provide practice within the zone of proximal development to individual children or groups of children. Scaffolding provides hints and prompts of different levels. In scaffolding, the adults does not simplify the task, but the role of the learners are simplified. Cooperative learning activities can be planned with groups of children at different levels who can help each other to learn. So that would be all for our today's discussion. I hope na may nasabtan. So if na may questions, just ask me this afternoon in our virtual meeting or just PM me. So for your activity, I will post it separately in the Google Classroom. So just check your Google Classroom and feel free to ask me anything about the topic. Good day, everyone. God bless you and goodbye.